Well, hello everyone, my name is zwiggojr and welcome back to the How Fast Can You Beat Pokemon Platinum series. Last time we did Giratina Altered Form, and today we're going to be taking a look at possibly the worst legendary in the entire Pokemon universe, that being Regigigas. If you take a look at its stats, it's actually looking very promising with a 160 in its attack and almost 100 or above in the other stats except for special attack. But Regigigas has a very special ability in Slow Start, which halves his attack and speed for the first 5 turns of a Pokemon match. Yeah, that means that the first 5 turns you're only gonna have a 80 attack stat and a 50 speed stat. While all of his other stats stay the same, and they aren't obviously too bad, Regigigas does love to utilize his normal attack stat because he has a lot of good physical coverage moves. So we're gonna have to do a lot of stalling in order to unlock his full potential, but I think Regigigas is not as bad as he might seem. But we're gonna have to find that out together. The rules in this challenge are the same as always. I cannot use any items in battle, so that will make it just a lot harder for me, so I can't heal up Regigigas. I am allowed to use a Chem Pokemon, and I can only use Regigigas in battle. The like goal for today is 7,000 likes. If you guys can hit that, I will bring you the next installment of this series. Also, don't forget to subscribe because we are trying to hit that 100k mark by the end of the year, and we're so close. And with that out of the way, let's just jump right into this. Our name in this one is gonna be E, while our rival's name is going to be O. I know, these names are absolutely amazing. We then turn off battle animations and put everything on set mode, and we switch out Turtwig for Regigigas so that our rival will eventually have an Infernape, which is super effective against us. I wanted to change it up for this one and gave my rival the starter that's actually worst against me, but I feel like that would put the other Pokemon I played with at a disadvantage. So I'm just gonna keep doing it like this. From the start, Regigigas actually doesn't have that bad of a moveset, having already 4 moves in my arsenal with Dizzy Punch, Foresight, Knockoff, and Confuse Ray, which is going to be very useful. The rival fight goes the same as with all the other legendaries, but you can see that Regigigas already does a lot less damage than, let's say, Giratina. I then ran into Bidoof and he gave me some advice. Always trust in the Bidoof. So I run away, and I give my Regigigas the most appropriate name ever. Trash, because that's exactly what he is. We then go to the trainer school to do some maths, but I suck at math, so I decide to skip it. I then saw this clown on the street and he said that I could join his circus if I was good at math. Yeah, didn't join the circus. Then it's time for the second rival battle with O. Starly actually does go down in 3 Dizzy Punches, but it also hits me with a quick attack and growls me twice to halve my attack stat. Even more. Great. Express Chimchar, it is able to hit me with a few scratches, but that was that. Eventually I got my act together and Dizzy Punched it to death. I then reached Rourke at a time of 27 minutes, which is 3 minutes behind Giratina, so not too bad. But I am not able to even get past his first Pokemon, Geodude. See, with Giratina, Palkia, and Dialga, it was different because they had special moves, and Rourke's special defense on his Pokemon is very not good. But Regigigas only has Dizzy Punch and Knockoff as attacking moves, which is just not good enough to kill a Geodude that is like 5 levels above me. We also take way too much damage, and the only way that we're gonna even get past this Geodude is if it hits itself in confusion like 10 times. So I knew that I had to grind up already. Yeah, with the other legendaries I didn't have to grind once. Regigigas first gym I already have to grind. Great. So I just went back and fought the trainers that I of course skipped until I reached level 13, and I went back to Rourke at 58 minutes. The other guys were at the second gym at 58 minutes. Damn, Regigigas, you're really bad. Even at level 13 and 14, I still had problems taking down every single one of his Pokemon because I had to get insane confusion luck. But I knew that I got to his last Pokemon, Cranidos, so it was possible at this level. After getting smacked by his hard Schneck and Cranidos a bunch of times, I eventually had my first gym badge. And here's how I did it. I cannot use Dizzy Punch until I get my act together because else I will just run out of PP, so I have to stall with Confuse Ray and Knockoff. Eventually, after spamming those 2 moves and him using a potion on him, I finally got my act together and killed the Geodude with 3 final Dizzy Punches. Then Onix came out, so I went for the same strategy, going for Confuse Ray, then hitting it with a few Dizzy Punches, but I was almost running out and I still needed 2 for Cranidos. So I opted to go for knockoff until it was in range where I could kill it. While he wastes another potion on Onix, I can eventually take it out by spamming Dizzy Punch and knockoff, and it hitting itself in its confusion. Last up was Cranidos, and the only way that I was gonna win this battle is if it hits itself in its confusion. But first it hit me with a pursuit. I was only left with 2 HP. The turn after, it hit itself in its confusion and I could finish it off with 2 more Dizzy Punches. So there we have it, 1 gym badge with over an hour in already. Great. So next we go to the Valley Windworks, and my Regigigas is already level 16 while Giratina was level 13. I mean, you see the level difference here. I did also learn Return to my Regigigas, so eventually he will have the most powerful normal type move, but I still took down the Zubat with only 3 moves. Next out was Perugly, and then I went for the Confuse Ray, and I finally got my act together so I could Dizzy Punch it twice and kill Mars. We then ran through the entire forest and reached the second gym at 1 hour and 40 minutes. Of course, she starts off with a Turtwig. So my Regigigas goes for the Dizzy Punch and confuses it turn 1, which is great, but he sets up a Reflect. Since Regigigas only has physical type moves, this is very bad for me. But eventually I get it down into red health. I knew that she was gonna heal up, so I go for the Confuse Ray because it already snapped out of its confusion. Then eventually the Reflect wore off, and at the same turn I got my act together, so the Turtwig was basically dead. Next up is Cherim, but that thing just went for a Sunny Day, so we can 2-shot that as well. And last up is Roserade. It decides to Stun Spore me turn 1 and then go for a Grass Knot. As you can see, that does more than half and it isn't even super effective. That's because Regigigas is just such a chunky boy. Anyway, it doesn't matter because we can get through the paralysis and hit it with a Dizzy Punch and get our second gym badge. Then we have to take on Jupiter at the top of the Team Galactic building. And she has a Zubat that's level 21, which I kill with 2 Dizzy Punches. Then the Skunk Tank comes out, which does actually give me a lot of trouble, and eventually leaves me with only 12 HP, but Regigigas is able to come out on top with his Dizzy Punches and Confuse Rays to win another commander battle. I then talk to this old man. I say no to his quest for digging because I'm not an excavator. I then jump on my bike and do some and then I reach Fantina's gym and I see this guy from Cyanwood City that's supposed to give you the secret potion for Ampharos. Why is he here? Anyway, we traverse our way through her gym and at 2 hours and 12 minutes we can reach her. I kept knockoff specifically for this gym battle though, so that's good. We have a super effective move at least, even though it's only got 20 power. Damn, I wish this was Gen 6. She starts off with a Duskull, and Duskull is the most annoying Pokemon that I have to face so far. You have no idea how many times I had to reset just because this thing kept going for Will-O-Wisp. Yeah, it burned me almost every single time I went into this battle, and once I get burned, I have to reset because I know it's not gonna be possible to beat her anymore, since my attack is halved and then even more halved. Eventually I did get past the Duskull, but then we got put to sleep, and then the Miss Magus could easily finish me off. After doing about 30 minutes of resetting though, I was finally able to beat Fantina. So what I did with the Duskull was I confused it with Confuse Ray. For some reason it just kept hitting itself for like 4 turns in a row, and I could just spam knockoff until she used a super potion. Then I kept knocking off once again until I finally got my act together. He missed his Will-O-Wisp and I killed it with 1 more knockoff. Hunter was second, and we just did the same thing, Confuse Ray then knock off until it died. And with Miss Magus we just did the same, Confuse Ray and knock off, but this was a little bit harder because we did get hit with a lot of Psybeams and she used a super potion on it as well, but eventually we came out on top and we now have 3 gym badges. Time for another rival battle with O. It starts off with Saravia, which is very bad for me because it has Intimidate, so my attack is lowered from the start. I then go for the Confuse Ray and 2 Dizzy Punches, and because my second Dizzy Punch was a critical hit, I can take it out very easily. Monferno is able to get a Leer and a Mach Punch off, doing a decent amount of damage, but 3 Dizzy Punches also take down the Fiery Monkey. Since I now do have my act together, we can 1-shot Weasel and 2-shot Roselia with a Dizzy Punch and a Return. I also decide to replace Knockoff for Revenge, which was a Mistake, and you'll see in a few minutes why. I then ran past the farmers with their fiery horse, and then I ran into a guy with a bronzor and shield on. I legit had to do this bronzor battle 3 times because it kept putting me to sleep or flinching me with extra sensory so I wouldn't be able to get an attack off, and eventually it would just be able to take out my Regigigas 3 times in a row. That's how bad Regigigas actually is. It can't even beat a Bronzor. After I got past the Bronzor though, here is where I should not have gotten rid of knockoff. You see, this trainer right here, it's an ace trainer. He has a Drift Blim. As you might already know, he is a ghost type. And fighting or normal type moves can't hit ghost types. And I look through my TMs that I have available to me right now, and I have nothing that can attack this Drift Blim. Regigigas can't learn anything. So I had to reset all the way back to the rival battle to learn Revenge again, and this time get rid of Dizzy Punch in place of knockoff. Then I returned to the Drift Blim, I knocked it off good, but it has Aftermath. And since knockoff doesn't do a lot of damage, I actually lost to this Drift Blim a good amount of times before I could actually beat it. Eventually I managed to defeat it, and I went to Maylene's gym at 2 hours and 52 minutes. And since Regigigas is normal type, I got stuck on their first Pokemon Metatite. I tried about 10 times and I couldn't even get past it. And because I didn't outspeed, I knew that Lucario was absolutely going to wreck my ass. So what I did is grind up my Regigigas just a little bit more, up to level 35, and now I was fast enough to outspeed the Metatite. So I hit it with a Confuse Ray, it hit itself in its confusion, and I can finish it off with a return. Next up was Machoke, so I went for the same strategy, Confuse Ray, then returning it. It missed its Rock Tomb, but I got my Act back together and I killed it with one more return. And last up is Lucario. I decided to go for the Confuse Ray while I actually should have gone for the Revenge, but it doesn't matter because Force Palm doesn't do enough damage, and I then take it out because it hits itself and my Revenge is enough to kill it. We now have 4 gym badges, so I go to the Pokemart and pick up some TMs in Thunder and Focus Blast. I won't be using Focus Blast though. I thought that it might be useful, but I'm only going to be using Thunder in this playthrough. Now it's time for the next rival battle, and this is not going as planned because this Staravia has Endeavor, and once I get it down into red health, it just goes for Endeavor, I finish it off, but then the Monferno comes in, go for Mach Punch, and I'm dead. And the only way for me to get rid of this Staravia in one turn is if I stall 5 turns and then one-shot it, but I think I would rather just learn Thunder, so I get rid of knockoff and learn Thunder, which will also be great against Crasher Wake. So now I go for Thunder first turn and the Staravia dies instantly. Next up is Monferno, so I go for the Confuse Ray and hit it with 3 returns in order to take it down, but we do get hit with a Mach Punch and a Flame Wheel, which does bring us under half HP. Weasel does a little bit more chip damage with Aqua Jet, but a Thunder takes it out too, and last up is Roselia. I go for the return, but it isn't able to one-shot, and we get hit with a Magical Leaf, but we're left with 13 HP, and we take it out next turn. With that, we can head on to Crasher Wake. This shouldn't be a problem with our newly acquired move though. But we are already 3 hours and 33 minutes into this playthrough. So he sends out his Gyarados and my Regigigas takes it down with a single Thunder while getting hit with a Waterfall. Next up is Floatzel. We do miss our first Thunder and we get hit with 2 Crunches in the process, but our second one hits and takes it out in one shot. Last up is Quagsire, so we'll go for the Confuse Ray and then hit it with 3 returns in order to take it out, but this was very close because we were only left with 4 HP, but we managed to defeat Crasher Wake. Safari Zone goes boom, we pick up Potion, spray it in Duck's Eyes, and we can go further on journey. We reach the ruins, talk to Cyrus, and of course battle him. He starts off with Sneasel, which we can one-shot with a Revenge very easily. Next up is Golbat. I go for the Thunder, doesn't take it out, but it does paralyze. He then heals it up. I go for the Return Thunder combo and take it out. Last up is Murkrow, who we can also one-shot with a Thunder. After that we get the HM for Surf. I go to Canalave City and fight my rival there once again. But this was, up until now, the hardest rival battle, because this man added a Heracross and a Staraptor to the team. Staraptor now has close combat as well as the Heracross, which has Brick Break, and his Infernape also has Brick Break and Mach Punch. Yeah, that's a lot of fighting moves, and my Regigigas can't really deal with fighting moves that well, so naturally I was gonna have a lot of trouble here. The Staraptor wasn't that much of a problem because I could just Thunder it and it would be dead, but the Heracross would outspeed me and his Brick Break would do over half health. if I then was able to kill the Heracross, my health would be so low that Infernape could always finish me off with a Mach Punch. So what I had to do is, of course, grind up once again. So I returned at level 46. Yeah, 46 is a little bit high at this point in the game, but otherwise it wasn't going to be possible. And even at level 46 I still had a bunch of trouble with the same 3 Pokemon. Eventually though, after about an hour of attempts, I was able to finish off O. I decided to go for a Confuse Ray on the Staraptor to stall out a turn for my slow start ability to wear off. I then go for Thunder and one-shot the Staraptor, and next up is Heracross. I get Brick Break from the start, but my Confuse Ray does hit, and the next 2 turns it hits itself in its confusion while I can slowly take it down with 2 returns. Next up is Infernape, and I finally get my act together and I can go for the return, outspeed, and do a very decent chunk of damage, but he still hits me with a Brick Break, but next turn we can take it out. Next up is Floatzel, and I go for the Thunder and he hits me with an Aqua Jet. My Thunder misses, and next turn he goes for an Aqua Jet again, but I hang on with 2 HP, and then my Thunder hits and takes it out. Last up is Roserade, which you do one-shot with return, and with that we can head on to the 6th gym in Byron with his steel types. And we can reach him at 4 hours and 35 minutes. This fight still wasn't too easy though, because his second Pokemon Steelix's defense is just so high that my Revenge, even though it's super effective, barely does anything. After getting wrecked by the Steelix 4 times, I eventually could get my way to the Bastiodon, and from here on was very easy. And that is because my Revenge got a critical hit and I was able to one-shot it and get my 6th gym badge. We then went to the first lake to fight Saturn, and this is the first time I think in my entire Platinum career that I have lost a lake battle. That's how bad Regigigas is. I absolutely got wrecked by Toxicroak's Revenge. Eventually though I was able to smash the Toxicroak with returns, and finally was Bronzor. I got the critical hit with Thunder, otherwise I wouldn't have killed and I would have been dead, but Thunder killed. And we can head on to Mars. But Mars wasn't that much of a problem, being able to one-shot Golbat with Thunder, then learning Zen Headbutt and getting rid of Revenge, because I know I still had Drain Punch in the bag if I needed a fighting type move. Bronzor was a 2-shot with Thunder, and since I got my act together, I was able to one-shot Perugly with return. I then found a Pokeball that contained knowledge on how to be a rock climber. And I reached Candace's Ice Gym at 5 hours and 25 minutes. And since this was the Ice Gym, I immediately just got rid of Zen Headbutt and learned my Pokemon Drain Punch, since it will just be 10 times better. But one Pokemon on our team couldn't get hit by Drain Punch, and that was Frozlast, so I had to hit 2 Thunders in order to take that thing down. But it froze me so many times with Blizzard, and since the hail was up, Blizzard would never miss and do a lot of damage on me. She then also had an Abomasnow, which would never go down in just 1 Drain Punch, and it had the move Focus Blast, which is a very low accuracy move, but it has 120 power, so that absolutely wrecks Regigigas. Honestly, normal types really don't do well in Sinnoh because of the fighting type coverage almost every single trainer has apparently. Eventually though, after about 20 attempts, I was able to beat Candace. And I immediately started the match by misclicking and going for Thunder on the Sneasel. It doesn't kill and she switches in Abomasnow. I get hit with a few Focus Blasts, but my Drain Punch always gets my HP back. Eventually I get it down into red health, but she heals up with a potion. I get my Ag back together and 2 more Drain Punches take it out. Next was Frozlast, so I decide to confuse it and hit it with a Thunder, and I get the Paralysis as well. While it hits itself in confusion a decent amount of times, I miss a few of my Thunders, and eventually it is able to get me down into 17 HP after I then take it out. The hail damage almost killed me, leaving me with only 6 HP, and next up was Piloswine. So I went for the Drain Punch, which killed, gave me a lot of my HP back, and last up was Sneasel, which we can finish off with a return, and we now have 7 gym badges. I then attend to the weekly speech of Cyrus. Let's see what he has to say.
You're breathtaking! You're all breathtaking!
Thank you, Cyrus. Very inspirational. We then go to his office and absolutely wreck his ass with Drain Punch on his Sneasel, Thunder on the Crobat, but it doesn't take it out, so he heals up. I go for a return, get the critical hit, and take it out next turn. Next is Honchkrow, which hits a critical hit. Drill Peck does a lot of damage, but my Thunder is also a critical hit and takes out the Crow. We then acquire the Master Ball and go down into the lab, where we have to fight Saturn one last time, as he starts off with Golbat, which I can take out with a Thunder, but we we do get poisoned by Poison Fang. Toxicroak is next, which hits me with a break, but I hit a return and it's a critical hit which takes it out in a single shot. Otherwise, we would have lost once more. Last up is Bronzor, which is able to take us down to 17 HP with an extra sensory combined with the poison damage, but 2 thunders take it out and we can set free the Lake Trio, go to the Spare Pillar and take on the last 2 admins. Or commanders, as they're called in this game. Since Regigigas is pretty bulky, I absolutely sweep through them with the help of Munchlax. We didn't even need another Pokemon than Munchlax. That's how strong Regigigas really gets when his slow start ability wears off. So after absolutely destroying these 2 women, no please, I didn't mean to say it like that. We see once more how Dialga and Palkia ruin the world. Giratina comes out, and apparently Giratina is the god of antimatter. I'm sorry for everyone that commented that on the last video. I didn't really do my research on that one. But yeah, so the god of antimatter comes out, jumps at the screen, Mesprit, Azelf, and Yuxi go down into the rabbit hole, and we follow them. Now we go through the Distortion world the way we always do, very fast, because we're super fast boys. And at the end we have to take on our very best friend Cyrus. He starts off with his Houndoom, so I go for the Drain Punch, but it doesn't take it out. He goes for the heal, I go for another Drain Punch, he hits me with a Flamethrower, and one more return takes out the Houndoom. Next up is Hunchcrow, so I go for the Confuse Ray, and then for the Thunder to take it out. Gyarados comes out after that, hits me with 2 Waterfalls because I missed 2 Thunders, but I'm only left with 19 HP and my last Thunder takes it out. Then Weavile comes out, but luckily I have already done my 5 turns, so we can outspeed and one-shot with Drain Punch. After getting our HP back, he goes into his last Pokemon Crobat, which we one-shot with a critical return. With that, we can head on to Giratina. At the end of the Distortion world, we of course have to fight Giratina, but this was honestly very easy. I just went for the Confuse Ray and then the Thunder. It hit itself multiple times, and eventually we do finish it off with a load of Thunders. Talking about electricity, time to head on to Volkner, the final gym leader, which for Regigigas once again isn't a big problem. He starts off with his Jolteon while I start off with Regigigas. He immediately paralyzes me with Thunder Wave, which is not really good, but eventually we do manage to finish off the Jolteon with 3 returns while getting hit with a Charge Beam. Next out is Raichu, and this thing has Focus Blast but doesn't do too much damage, so I go for the Drain Punch to get some HP back and then finish it off with another return. Electivire is next, but I get my act together and one-shot him with return. And last up is Luxray, so I go for the Drain Punch for some reason. I should have just gone for return and then finish it off with a return. With that, we can go through the Victory Road and go to the Pokemon League to have our final battle with O. You remember the last time we fought our rival, right? Where we had so much trouble with all the fighting type moves? Yeah, that has become even worse now, because his Pokemon just got way stronger and his Heracross now has access to Close Combat, which is an even better move than Break Break. It was getting pretty bad. I think my Regigigas got slaughtered about 120 times or maybe even more by him, so I decided nope, this is not happening. I'm gonna have to grind up, because if we can't even beat our rival, Cynthia is going to be absolutely impossible. So that is exactly what I did. I came back at level 68 and tried it once more. Still without too much success, because I still got outsped by most of his Pokemon, but I now knew that I could tank more hits and eventually win. He still leads with Staraptor, which has Intimidate, so that's not great for our attack, but he goes for the U-turn and switches in Heracross turn 1. So I go for the Thunder and paralyze it, but next turn we can outspeed and take it out with a return. That's one big threat out of the way already. Infernape comes out, I go for the Confuse Ray and he hits me with a Focus Blast, leaving me with 100 HP. But I again then hit it with 2 returns to take it out. He then sends out Staraptor, but I get my act together and I kill it with a Thunder because we now outspeed. Floatzel then gets wrecked by a return, and then the fatty Snorlax comes out. But we are the superior normal type. We go for the Drain Punch twice to get some HP back and kill it. And finally is Roserade, which does not take a return very well. And we can then head on to Aaron. Before we get into the fight, leave in the comments down below what you think Regigigas ending time is going to be right now. And if you get it right, you get a cookie. So Aaron starts off with Yamega and also goes to the U-turn into Heracross, just like our rival. We miss our Thunder, we get hit with a Stone Edge, but we hit our next Thunder, paralyzing hit, and then taking it out with a return next turn. Vespiquen comes out, I go for the Thunder, and then I get my act together and finish it off. Scizor gets 2-shot by Thunder and return as well. Drapion is able to hang on for a return and hit me with a cross poison, but we take him out next turn. And last up is Yanmega, which is not able to take a single return, and with that we can finally head on to Bertha. And just like with Giratina, Bertha was a little bit of a problem, but it only took me about 10 to 12 attempts to finally beat her because her team is just so bulky with Hippo down and Rhyperior. And Gliscor just hits very hard, while Whiscash doesn't really do a lot, just like Golem. They're just, you know, there. After getting shredded by Hippo down a few times, I was finally able to stomp my way through her, confusing the Whiscash, barely getting hit, and taking it out with 3 returns. Gliscor comes out, I go for the Confuse Ray, we get hit with 2 Earthquakes, and then I take it out with 2 returns. Hippo down then comes out, so I go for the Confuse Ray, then go for the Drain Punch to get some HP back, and eventually finish it off with return as well, and Golem comes out. I go for the Drain Punch, but it doesn't quite take it out, so he heals up. I know that that's gonna happen. Go for the Drain Punch again, and then finish it off with Drain Punch, which was the dumbest thing I could do. I should have just gone for return, because now I don't have enough Drain Punches for Rhyperior. Going for it, doing over half, but heals up with his Berry. Then I have to hit 2 returns in a row to kill it, but we're left with 13 HP by its Earthquakes. But eventually Regigigas does come out on top. Flint isn't really a problem, confusing his first Pokemon Houndoom and then 2-shotting it with Drain Punch. Infernape was able to do a lot of damage on me, but eventually I was able to take it out after he healed up with a full restore with a Drain Punch and a return combo. Since I now have my act together, I can also one-shot Flareon. Next up is Rapidash, which we also one-shot with return. Magmortar might look bulky, but it isn't able to take a hit from a giant like Regigigas. The last Leaf Form member is of course Lucian, and we don't have any troubles with him, just like with Giratina. Lucian very easy to take down for me. Mr. Mime, 1 return, down. Next up is Gallade, which actually gives us a bunch of trouble here, taking me down to 16 HP with a lot of Drain Punches, and because it kept using Drain Punch, I couldn't 2-shot it with return. I had to use a lot of them, but now I finally got my act together. After taking it down, we can then outspeed Alakazam and one-shot him too. The same goes for Espeon, and then Bronzong comes out, which I take down with a few Drain Punches. With that, we can now head on to our girl Cynthia. And normally with Giratina or with Dialga or Palkia, you would set up with Ancient Power or Ominous Wind, but Regigigas doesn't have a move like that. But we do have the slow start to get rid of, and if eventually the slow start is gone, we can easily sweep most of our team. So the only thing we have to do is basically waste all of my turns on a Spiritomb, but that isn't too easy because if it snaps out of confusion or doesn't hit itself, it can do some decent damage with Dark Pulse. Even if we can get past Spiritomb though, they still have Togekiss, which I cannot one-shot in any way, except if I get a crit, and they also have Lucario, which can do a lot of damage with Aura Sphere. Just like Togekiss actually, it also has Aura Sphere. And of course, don't forget about Garchomp. That thing is always a tank and can do so much damage. I feel like Garchomp might even get a better time than some legendaries, so maybe we should add him to the board. Eventually though, on only my 5th attempt, I was able to beat Cynthia. Not stalling on Spiritomb actually, just 2-shotting it with Thunder, because otherwise it just would take me out with a lot of Dark Pulses. Next up is Lucario, so it outspeeds me with Aura Sphere, does a lot of damage, so I go for the Confuse Ray, then go for the Drain Punch, but it isn't enough. She heals up, I get my act back together and one-shot the Lucario after that. Togekiss then comes out, I of course start off by confusing it, then going for return, but it isn't enough. She then heals up, I go for the Drain Punch, return combo to take it out. Garchomp is out next, and its Earthquake does a decent chunk of damage, but it isn't enough, so we can return it twice to take it out as well. Next out is Milotic, which is able to hit a Surf on me, still not enough to take me out, and a Thunder does over half, and then we finish it off with return. And last up is Roserade, which like all of the other Roserades I've faced, isn't a problem, 1 return, and we're champions with Regigigas at level 71 actually, which is a lot higher than all of the other Pokemon. But what is our final time? Let's check it out. 8 hours and 29 minutes, so that is almost 2 hours behind Giratina, which is of course not great for a legendary, but I would have expected Regigigas to get maybe more than 10 hours, so I think this is still fine. I thought Regigigas would be worse, and I think the first gym was where I wasted a lot of time, as well as the rival battles, but in the end, Regigigas has the worst time up until now. Do you think that any legendary can get below 8 hours and 29 minutes? Let's find out together. With this run completed, we're gonna be doing Darkrai next, so hopefully you're excited for that one. I also have other projects lined up, don't worry, we are still gonna be doing ROM hack challenges and all that. But with that out of the way, I of course want to thank my Patreon and membership supporters for making these videos possible. Their support is absolutely amazing. And if you want to do so yourself, you can click the links in the description and get all of the benefits attached to it. Also, if you're interested in some zwiggojr merch, that is still up as well, link in the description like always. And as always people, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe and share this video with your friends. I'm zwiggojr and I'll see you guys next time.